So we have our file. Now we have to, what you have to do is we have to create the loggers. Okay, for example, let's do something like we were able to find the element. Now we can say something like we can get the title. So dot get title. So it results a promise. Then we have to solve the promise, and then we have to write anything we want to write. Okay, we can store the value or we can ignore the value, so it will not give you any error. If we don't pass any variable in the function also, it will not give us any issues. So this is one of the logging. Basically this is nothing but a console login. So it is literally a simplest way to log. Okay, so let's run this particular file. Name Protractor.com. So we have to start our compilations. tsc-w, and then we can run it, but before that we have to navigate to the path where the conf file is present. Okay, this is the conf file we are trying to hit. So it is present under cd js-pym, and then we have pym. So here we have our protractor conf file. Okay, so if it is not running correctly, means we have to go to this js file and we have to see like whether this particular value is reflecting or not. Okay, now protractor space. So we are using a brute force way of printing the logs. So it is able to print it. Okay, so this is basic logging, but we will not be, sometimes not only with the console, we might want to send it to a files. Okay, that's where the issue comes when we are using console logs. Okay, so in such cases we will be using a different loggers. So there is no default logger present in Protractor, so we will be using a external logger. So we can install that logger using npm install Winston. Okay, Winston is the external logger we will be using. So whenever we go for a logging, we will be having multiple levels, like to denote, like when we are running a particular test case, if it fails, we might want to get a message out of it, like it is failed. Or sometimes if we are starting to run in a different browsers or different places or different URLs, we might want to get the information, just like information. Okay, something like to notify the user, like this particular test case is running in Chrome, this particular test case is running in google.com, or this particular test case is running with some particular values. Okay, so we have different levels of logging. So first we have a debug. Okay, debug is a basic level, okay, the least priority level. So whenever you face a bigger issues, you will be using this debugging. Okay, so that you will go you will be able to learn a step by step, like whatever is going on. Okay, so the next level is information level, so also called as info level. So whatever the informations we want to provide to the user, this is one step higher level than the debug level. So whatever the information we want to pass to the user, it will print it to the console or to the file. So then we have a warning. So warning is something like we have some issues, but it is not affecting the application or the execution. Such kind of things comes under warning. And then we have error. So whenever there is an error, it means like our test failed, but not the execution failed. Okay, and then we have a critical logs, something like a particular suit might be failed because of something. And then we have a alert, and this particular alert is something like it gives you like a bigger failure, but it's not halting the issues. Like whenever there is a bigger failures, we will be using alert messages. Not, it will not pop up, but in the level it's called as alert. Okay, so which means that a bigger problem is coming. So the final one is emergency. Emergency is the level where if this particular emergency error occurs, that means like your execution has stopped. Okay, so how many emergency errors can occur in one execution?
Only one.
Why?
Because it is a emergency means it is only one criticality, right?
Right. So only one emergency can occur, because the moment emergency error occurs, that means like the execution is over. It's not going to execute anymore. Okay, so now we have installed our Winston. Also, we got to know like a little bit on the levels. So before proceeding further, let's create a a logger. Okay, so normally for logging purpose, we will be using a different file. Okay, rather than using on the spec file, we will be using it in an external file. You can use it your utils file. So we can have something like logger, but just make sure that you are able to differentiate the loggers present in the systems and this logger. Okay, that's a big issue, because wherever the system is present, there will be different logger classes and logger files. Okay, they might have created for their issues and users. So in such time, we have to clearly mention like what our log file name is and the classes is. So for a moment's sake, I'm naming it as logger-pom.ts. Okay, but before going to the classes, let's discuss like why we want a external logger. Why not on the spec file? Okay, so whenever you create anything on this particular spec file, will it be useful on the this particular spec file? So both are different spec files. If I create something on the describe block or init block, will it be useful on Excel spec file?
No problem.
Because mostly whatever we create inside the it block or a describe block, it will be the scope will be limited to that particular it block or the describe block, right? But still, there are cases like there are cases and there are people like who can create the class inside this particular spec file and can use it. Okay, so that is possible, but why it is not recommended to create a class here itself and use it externally, like in other spec files? Just guess. Any guess?
Because we need to create every class for every spec file.
Right. Okay. For example, let's consider this way. So instead of he is bit intelligent, he creates the same structure whatever we are going to create on the logger POM. He creates the same structure like exporting and everything inside this particular spec file. So which means that he can use them externally also. But still, why it is not recommended?
And maybe I'm thinking right, we're using the TS files to again.
Right, you are using TS files. That's right. But
What happening right? That maybe the spec file will convert to JS file again. every
Mhm.
time maybe it will cause some disturbances again.
Yeah,
Maybe
that is right. That is actually right. So if it happens that way, so what we need to do? We will be separating this particular this particular logging utility apart from this particular libraries and the spec files. So where we store such kind of things is our utils.
okay.
Okay, so these whatever we create on the utils which are not related with your application. Okay, so if it is related something with your application, then those files will go under library.
Library.
Okay,
Okay.
so for a moment's sake, let's create it here. Okay, so first we have to so first whenever we start to create a logger, we will be need three components. Okay, the first component is like, so what is the level of logging you want to perform? Previously we discussed 7 levels, right? Like
Yeah.
from debug to emergency. So what's the level of your logging? That is first. The second one is like, what is the format you want to log? Like whether you want to log in the format of like a just simple, or whether you want to have a different formats. Okay, what's the format you want? And the third one is, where do you want to log it? Okay, so we have now like the level of logging and format of logging and the destination for logging, like whether you want to write it for a file or whether you want to write it for a console, right? This is also important one. So now let's create a logger. So there is you can import all the files from the Winston, or before importing let's try to access them. If it is not possible, then we will be importing it. So there is a class called import logger. Okay, so it's not giving any suggestions, so let's import it. Import create logger from
Winston.
Winston. So I and Sanjay was discussing like, so if you are using from the npm modules, okay, so if you have installed something, then no need to provide your path to that particular packages. Okay, but in case of other cases, like if you are importing or something, then you will be using that a path. Okay, you will specify like where this is present. Okay, so we have imported this particular create logger. Now let's try to use it. Create logger. So create logger is a method and it accepts a map. Okay, map contains three levels. One is three parameters. One is level, and second one is a format, and third one is the destination, where we want to use it, or where we want to put this particular log file. Okay, so maps always starts with this parenthesis, sorry, curly braces. I sometimes uh, I confuse with parenthesis and curly braces. Okay, so we have to have level. So all the maps will have key and value. Okay, so what level we want? Info.
Information.
Yeah, information. But all the things we have, right? Warning, information, emergency, everything will be shorted with 4 letters or 5 letters.
Okay, then.
Okay. So the next one is format. Format will be, we have a different formats present, already present with
H.
Winston. Okay.
Okay.
Format dot will be going with simple. Okay, so it is not there, so again we have to import the format as well. Okay, these kind of issues you might face like when we are installing external, when we are installing external packages. Should come along with your create logger. So we have a simple. Okay, so these two are we have given, like first one is the level of logging and second one is the format, and the third one is where you want to put this logging. So it is called transports. Okay, so for transport it accepts a array. Okay, transports accept array. Basically you can provide any kind of the destinations. I'll be using console, transports dot console. Okay, so now we have created the logger. Okay, so let's try to run it. For example, I'm running. Okay, let this console log be there, and I'll be using. So we want to use this logger. So if you want to use this logger, then we have to store it. For example, let me store it in logger. Okay, from the logger, we will be accessing different methods. Log. First, we have to give the level. Okay, so why we want to give level here? So already we have given a level here, right? So why we need to give a level here in this one info?
No, in the file it will print what it is, whether it is an info or error or alert.
Okay, it will print. Okay, so yes, that is the main reason. And one more reason is there.
I think this is at the top what you defined is like default.
Okay.
No. What happens? Okay, info means it will print everything, error, everything. So, if it is if we had mentioned level as error, then only error will be printed. Other than that, if it is info and all, it will not be printed.
Okay, so I guess yeah, that is right. So this one is like what level we want to print. Okay, like so consider like there are 70 logging prints. Okay, something like this one. Oh, among the 70, what is the variety we want? We want only the variety of info. Okay. So that is the one reason. And one more thing is like consider like you have like 7 logins. Okay. If you give the 7th one, it will print 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Okay. If you give 4th, it will print a 4th and lesser than that.
Yeah.
So if you give the 0th, it will print a 0th only.
0th one.
Okay. So level and lesser levels.
Yeah.
Sorry, something like more level and more levels prioritier than this level.
Okay. So info means it will print everything, right?
Info means it will print everything except debug.
Except debug. Okay.
Okay. So let's run it. Sorry. So do you guys have any doubt, like if I have installed a package and if I try to install it again, what happens?
It will update.
Yeah.
It will update the packages if anything happens. Is
Right.
that correct?
Right. That's it. It will not halt anything. It will not give any issues. Okay. Even if you stop in the half. Okay. Now you can see the console log that we have used basically here. Okay. And then we have a simple logger. So for example, let me change the level to debug.
Error.
So now the log is not there, right? And because this debug level has lesser priority than info level. Okay. For example, let's make it to info, and here let's change it to debug. Now we are able to get the info because the info has more priority than debug. Okay, debug is the least one. For example, if I say something like warn, okay, this is warning. So now I am using, so if I use error here, level is error. So whether it will print the simple logger or not.
It will print.
It will print.
This is a warning and this is going to be error.
I mean, I think it will not print because warning has lesser priority than error.
Right. So warning gives you the message that there is going to be something error, but as of now, it's not happened. Okay, error means the error occurred. Okay, so we are able to get all the things. For example, if I have one more login, let's say something like so let's consider debug. So we want to print one and we want to ignore one. Okay. So this is going to be your debug level logger. So let me run it. So it will print the simple logger, but it will not print the debug level logger. Okay, we got the simple, and but we did not get any debug level logger. Okay, so this is fine with us, but we don't want to print the console logs, because if I want to print the console logs, we could use directly this one, right? What's the point of having the logging mechanism, right? So that's when the logger provides a few more mechanisms, like we can use few more methods. So one of the method is we can print it to a file. Okay, for file it will contains like new sim to that way transports dot file. Okay, so now we have the file, but the main important question will be which file. Okay, so this one will also accept a map, so we have to provide the file name. Okay, file name equal to what? For example, let's create simple log dot log. Okay, now we want to print it into a log. So where this particular log file will be created?
In the
JSPOM it will create.
yeah, where the conf.js is present.
Conf.js.
Right. So let's try. One second, I'm changing. Let's execute and see whether it creates a file or not. So it has printed warning simple logger, okay, which is related with your transports of console. Okay, similarly, we have given one more transport, which is file. So we should come somewhere here. Let me search. So instead of that one, let me go from here itself. In Explorer, it will be easier. Okay, now in JSPOM, we have to go to POM. Now we have simple log here. One simple logger. So I want to ask one more question. Like, if I continue to run, okay, again, what happens? If I, without changing this thing, if I run, what happens? It will append the file. Okay. So now we have created the logger. So if I want to use in the Excel file, will it be possible?
Sorry.
Now we have the logger. Yeah. Now we have this logger. Okay. This is the logging mechanism that we have. Okay. So nothing else is there to create on the logging part. Okay. So if I want to use the same logging on Excel spec, how to use it? Give me the ways, like how we can use it. I want to use it in the Excel operations.
But that is limited to logging spec.ts, right?
Okay, so how will you overcome it?
Pawan, you want to add this? I'm not clear about the question, but you want to add this logs into the Excel file, correct?
No. The question is like, right. So in this Excel spec, I want to log something. Okay, here I want to log something like logger dot.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I want to use something here. So how to achieve it?
Maybe we need to import that.
No, you don't have to think like it has to be here. You can tell me the ways. Okay.
No, we need to create a separate logger class, and we need to create the object or init.
Yeah.
So I guess Sanjay, you have answered this one first, right, Sanjay? Before the class itself.
On prepare that method we need.
No, not there. Here only we can have it.
Okay.
Okay, but we should be able to use it thoroughly. This particular logger. So for that we will create a class. Okay. So if you want to use any class outside, what we have to use? Export class. Something like custom logger. Okay, now we have a custom logger. So if I want to use it statically, so how to do it? If I want to access the method or a variable using this particular logger.
Define class as static.
Okay.
And we will return the logger up.
Yeah. So shall we create something like a public?
Uh,
We can create a method, or we can create a variable.
that is also.
So it's not able to find it because
I need to-
we need the imports. Let me copy it. So now we have created the logger. So now how to access the logger?
By the class name dot, we can access the instance variable and
Why we want instance variable?
because we declared in the
No,
because
class name dot
this is a
that
static variable. Sorry,
yeah, static.
class name dot the logger.
Yeah. So still it gives me error. Why?
We have not imported that.
Custom logger.
Yeah.
Okay, I was telling in the previous. So whenever we have our local logins, we will be local imports, we will be using these paths. But when we use something from the npm package, we will not be using it.
Okay.
Okay, so here in the protractor itself, you can see like import from protractor. Not we are not using like dot 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 or something, right?
Yes.
Okay, now let's execute it and change the file to logging2. So it's opening the browser. So let's check whether we have a logger2. We have the same logging. Okay, so let's access some value from the browser and then we can use it. For example, if I want to print this title. Okay, so now tell me like whether it comes under one or info or just debug.
It is the info.
It is a info. Okay, info. Basically, we can say something like so now let's change the logger3. So simple log3. The title is Google. Okay, so this is basically a simple logging. Like we have the level and then we have the text. Okay, so rather than giving a simple logging, let's go for some other logging. So other one logging is JSON.
Yes.
Okay, so just guess like what could be the values.
Key value pair. It's a map.
Exactly. So here you can see the level is info, the message is this particular, the title.
Okay.
Now, if we want to, if it is in a JSON format, means it is nothing but your map. So every JSON file we have key and pair, as Sanjay was telling. So sometimes what we want is like, instead of printing a normal prints, we might want a different formats. Okay, something like we want to get something with differentiated levels or something like that. Okay, previously we were seeing like info and the title, okay, level and the message. Now here also we are seeing the same thing, but if you want to go for more complex, we can explore. There is a thing called a format with Winston. Okay, so we can explore that particular part, but I want you guys to explore it. For example, I'll explore a little, and you guys should be able to explore remaining.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Pawan, one question, right? How to add this timestamp here?
Yeah. So that is comes under format. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what we are going to talk now. Okay. So far we have seen like the level and message, but we want to introduce something on the formatting, like the messagings or the timings, like when this particular thing got printed or something.
Okay.
So in that case, we will be needing this particular formats. Okay. So the format comes in the same place of format. Okay. But it will come with a method called combine. Okay. So most probably this will not have the suggestions. So let's bring it. Okay. For example, let's go with combine, and then we will create we will talk like what is combine. So we have our first method as combine. Inside the method, we have to provide label. Okay. So label will be printed as part of your logging. Okay. So the label accepts two parameters. Sorry, again accepts a map. So in the map also we will be providing a label again. Sorry, label. Okay, some value to the label. After the label, we'll provide like what else we want. So we'll be providing timestamp. It will be like a timestamp. And then we will be having custom logger. Sorry. And then we have to provide our format, where our format is present. Okay, so basically this will come, but we have to create our own format. So for that purpose, we will be creating one more variable here. Okay, which is, we could have any kind of variable, but let's go with the static variable because it's in the same class. So there will be no need to create object. Okay. Format, or you can say like new format. So new format always will be equal to, so what we want to do. Printf info. Here we have to have a printer. So we want to return a particular kind of a string from this format. Okay, so for that we will be using something from the info. Okay, so info is nothing but these two values. So this, are you guys able to see the two quotes kind of thing?
Yeah.
Tell signs. So this is called a template. Okay, or people also call it as string template.
Okay.
Okay, when you have like a single quote or double quote, it's called as a string. But when you have like this tell symbol, it's called as string template, which means that you can append, without using the plus sign. If you want to use any variable, if you want to access anything, okay, so you can use them here. So from the info, we will be using two values. One is how we want to print it. Okay. So we have to print a timestamp. Okay. So we will be using this curly braces for printing our statements. Okay. And then again, info level. So we want to print the level, and then we want to print the message. So all the curly braces prefixed with $. Okay, now we have given this one. So now we have to provide this particular value, like variable, or we can call it as a lambda, from the as the third part. Okay, so it will be, we can access this particular variable using custom logger dot new format. Okay, so for these things we have to create the constants, okay, from the format. So for that purpose we'll be using a constant here. Combine, and then we have a timestamp, and then label, and we have printf. So here it is combine, printf, and finally the printf we can use pretty format. Okay, so now let me explain what's happening here. Okay, we have a method here, but rather than giving a method, we are passing particular these values into a lambda. Okay, this is called lambda. Okay, so where the lambda is nothing but it looks like your variables, but it acts as a methods. Okay, so here we are creating a method called printf. Okay, printf is not a default one, so we are creating a printf, or you can use any other name. It will not provide any error. So we are passing all the parameters from here, right? The label and timestamp. It will be passed on to the info, okay, as a map. Okay, so from the info we are retrieving the timestamp, the one we pass here, and then level, and then we have our message. Okay, so the message will come from this format. Okay, whatever we get, the level, and then labels and timestamps, everything will be printed into our screens. Okay, let's try to run it and see like whether we are getting any issues or not. So now here we are able to print the logging, but in the form of, time, level, and the message. Okay, so there are a little more formats. You guys can explore it. So now if you want to edit anything from here, something, if you want to add any strings, or you can add them and you can execute them. Okay, if you see whatever we incorporate, it will be printed into your consoles or into the files. Okay, so any doubt? The last part is little confusing, but you will get too addicted to it, because these are not something like you will be using an everyday basis. It will be like one-time setup. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now if you guys do not have any doubt, we want to discuss about sending emails. So sending emails will not take more time. Actually, it is a little part only. So if you guys have a time, we can cover it today, or we can cover it later.
Fine with me.
What about you, Laka?
Yes, fine, not a problem.
Okay, fine. Because if we can cover this sending emails today, then it will be easier for our Jenkins.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why I was thinking. So it's similar to this Winston and the pop-up bars or something. So there is a package called Node Mailer, which will be used for sending emails. Okay, so by default, you cannot send any emails using Protractor, but you can use it along with your JavaScript. Okay.
Okay.
For example, sorry, not for example. So let's install Node Mailer. Yeah. Install Node Mailer. So, and one more thing is that you cannot use it along with TS files most probably. So it will be working along with your JS files only. So this is one of the issue with Node Mailer. Okay, you have to use it with Node rather than on the Protractor. Okay, so as I was telling earlier, like if you want to run any file on the Node, you have to write Node and then space that particular file name, similar to your Protractor file name. Okay, for sending emails, what we need is we need a package which handles this SMTP or the requests. So once we have this thing, second part want to have is we want to have a transport. Like what is the transport we are going to use? Like what is the service we are going to use? And then what is the username or password? Okay. Similarly, so once we have these details, like we have package and we have the service which we are going to use, like the mail provider, and then if we have username and password, this is the basic. And after that, again we need a few more details, which are to whom we want to send, and what could be the subject, what could be the text of that particular email, or if you want to have any attachments or not. So these kind of things will come into play. So for that purpose, we'll be creating a transport here also. Okay, transport is nothing but the carrier, so which will be your the holder which holds all your details for the base mail, like from which we are going to send. Okay, so if you are using with Gmail or any other emails, sometimes you may not get exactly the first mail. Most probably you will not get the first mail. Okay, so once you send one or two mails, you will receive one message. You will receive one email to your Gmail. Okay, saying that some third-party app is trying to access your mail. So you have to provide the access for it. So from that onwards, it will start sending the mails. Okay. So that is a bit important, but sometimes it may take little time also for Google to realize that you are not the person. So once it accepts that value, then only you can go with, sending the emails. Otherwise, you cannot send any emails from this one. Okay, if you are using a third-party servers or host names, then you can use it, but it will not be possible with Gmail or other mail providers. Okay, so let me create one simple file. So I'll create outside. Okay, for example, in the POM, I'll create one file called send mail.js. Okay, as I was telling, it's not possible from the TS file. So we have to use JS file only. Okay. So for that, we have to import node mailer. Sorry. Node mailer equal to node mailer, but how will you import it in JavaScript?
Control space.
No, what is the word we will use for importing?
Require.
Require node mailer. Once we have node mailer, then we have to use a transport. Okay, so what is the transport we are going to use, or the base mail setup? Okay, from which mail we are going to send the emails to users or to yourself. So node mailer dot, we have different methods. So one is create transport. Okay, so this particular method accepts a map. So whenever you talk about Protractor JavaScript, most of them accepts this particular maps only. Okay, so for that we have to provide two setups. One is the service you are going to use. Okay, for example, I'm going to use Gmail. Okay, once you have a Gmail, then you need the username and password. So for that you will be using authentication. Authentication is another value, but it is also a map. Okay, user, for example, pawankumar.avraj.ad. So we have to pass it as a strings, and then we need to have our password. So which is pass, which would be okay. I'll enter the remaining value later. Okay, so once we have done with it, then we have to create the mail options. Mail options is nothing but, so what is going to be our mail content? Okay, so for that we have to create mail options. Mail options is just a variable, but you can have it with any name. So it will also map. Okay, so here we have to provide like from whom to whom you are sending the mail, and then from which mail you want to send, and then you might want to send to a person. So what is that mail ID? And then you have to write subject. So what's going to be our subject? And then you want to write a body. Okay, so here the body is also called as a text as of. Okay, so after text, do you have any attachments? Okay, so if you have any attachments, you can write it with attachments. And then so the attachments, so basically the attachments could be a more number of files or more number of attachments or images or anything. So for that purpose, we have array. Okay, array, and then we have map. So we have to provide the path for it. Okay, so which file we want to send? Okay, path of the file. Okay, for moment's sake, I'm just commenting it. I don't want any attachments. So after the attachments, if we have, once we are able to create the mail, then we want to send it. Okay, so base one is for authentication, and then we have created a mail, and now we actually want to send it to the user. Okay, for that we will be using transport is nothing but this variable. Okay, transport dot send mail. Okay, so first we have to send the mail. Okay, so mail means like what is the mail content. Okay, so we have to pass the mail content, and after the mail content, so it works in a asynchronous process, so it could return a error or some value, or we can call it as a data. Okay, so if there is any error, we might want to print it, or if you want to halt that particular execution, we can halt it also. Okay, so we'll be using it. Sorry. Okay, so that's it. So there are a few lines of code. We'll try first with this one. If it is not working, then we'll be using other one. So I want to move this one into the top actually. Okay, so from it will be like Pawan Kumar gmail.com, or let me use a different one, .nagraj@gmail.com. Let me use this one itself because I have already approved the access to. So what's your email ID, Sanjay? I'll try to send it to you.
SANJ NAIK.
Yes. Without anything.
Yeah, with IKM @gmail.com.
Yours, Loka? Okay.
Sir, LOK, sir, I'm speaking on it.
LOK.
RAGHAVA.
RAGHAVA.
RADDY.
Ready.
@gmail.com.
The subject is going to be not the top actually. I thought password is in that one. So while sharing, you guys, I might remove the password. Okay, while I sharing the video.
Okay.
Or you might not even get the email part, but yeah, it's fine. I'll change it. Okay, so now We have it. Now we have to write the text for it. Okay. Test body. So this is all. Now we have to provide the, the password. Password is, I was not sure it is or not. Okay, simple password. Okay. So how to run it? So from this is the place we have to run it. But for running, we need something like node rather than protractor. Okay. So it is send. Let's give a tab. Okay, reveal in Explorer. Okay, it is the same place, right?
Yes, same place.
Nope.
No, protractor one. We are
No, we
not.
have to go inside. Yes.
Inside the, let's see.
It's in protractor batch one.
Right. So it should be under JS files.
No. Okay.
Okay, let me copy it.
Okay.
Okay, node space. Then we have send email. So just let me know if you receive any mail. Password not accepted. Okay, this is good sign. Okay, now let me see whether I am able to access my email. Okay, it is not Bangalore. Okay, let me rerun it now. So if you get this error, that means like your setup is successful, almost successful, but it was not able to sign in.
Okay.
Okay. So let me see. I have tried with the same credentials. Go to Google account, left navigation, security turn on. Okay. Let's go to settings. So I guess this is also the same issue with the less security apps. Okay, I was telling some time back, right? Like it might not allow you to use it. Okay. Account. Just give me a minute. We should have something called security. Then we might be. So do you guys see any security option here? Okay, fine. It's in, no. Okay. Actually, this is the one we. Okay. Let me paste it. There are sites which will actually give like exact place. We have access, but still we're not able to send it. Okay, let me rerun it. It's okay, fine as of today. Okay. So on this one, any doubts like on the setup? Actually,
No.
No problem.
okay. If you guys do not have any doubt, means what we can do is we will continue this setup under Jenkins.
Okay.
Okay.
Just give me a minute. So I got one message. Sure. Okay, so we'll see it. Okay, I'll fix this one and we'll see how to do it. Okay.
Okay.
So any doubt on the last part, like what do you call the Winston part?
No problem.
No. Okay then. Okay guys, then we'll see. Most probably we'll not have any classes till. So when you are guys coming back?
I'll be leaving on 26th. Be back on 2nd.
Okay, so you Loka, because tomorrow I'll not be able to take class.
Pawan, I'm doing work from home entire this week. I will be available to not a problem.
Okay, so actually the next part is a bit important. So let's Sanjay join. Okay. So actually we are done with almost Protractor. Okay. So we don't have anything in Protractor. So we have the other part is DevOps part. Okay, so Jenkins and Docker, and then we have API testing and DB testing. Okay. So we'll be so make one class like on the 3rd. Shall we make it like a 2 hours? So just I'm telling now itself, because I and Sanjay was discussing on this one, like on the API part. So it will be like API part and DB part. We will be covering on the same day.
Okay, bro.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Then thanks.
So next class is on 2nd, right?
So you are coming back 2nd or 3rd?
2nd I'll be here.
So okay, we'll have it on 2nd.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
So by the time, if you get any doubts, you can ask me.
Okay.
You can send a WhatsApp message. If you get any issues, just send the image. I'll try to help you guys. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.